Objective geology, multiple choice questions with answers. This is the solid question paper of Pondicherry PhD Earth Sciences 2012 question paper, and I hope this solid question paper is useful for various competitive exams like CSR, NET, GATE, GSI and other exams. Welcome to set 1. Coming to the first question. Earthquake shadow zone exists because A. Outer core is in liquid state. B. Inner core is in solid state. C. Velocity of seismic wave increases with the depth from the crust to the core. And D. Velocity of seismic waves do not change at the core mantle boundary. So the correct option is earthquake shadow zone exists because outer core it is in liquid state. Earthquake shadow zones where seismic waves are not detected, they exist because of the refraction and reflection of the seismic waves as they travel through the Earth's interior, particularly at the core mantle boundary. And the liquid outer core, it stops S waves entirely and refracts or bends P waves, causing them to be absent from a specific region on the Earth's surface. So earthquake shadow zone exists because outer core is in a liquid state. A is the correct option. Next question. Going from bottom part to the top, which one of the following sequences is found in the ophiolite complex? The choices are A. Diabase dikes, basalt, gabbro, Herzbergite. B. Herzbergite, gabbro, diabase dikes, basalt. C. Diabase dikes, gabbro, Herzbergite and basalt. And D. Herzbergite, gabbro, basalt, diabase dikes. So the correct option is B. Herzbergite, gabbro, diabase dikes and basalt. So in a complete ophiolite sequence, you might find Herzbergite at the bottom. This is followed by cumulate ultramafic rocks and gabbro, then a sheeted dike complex, and finally pillow lavas or other basaltic formations at the top. Next question. Bark beds are A. Deccan traps, B. Intertrappean beds, C. Infratrappean beds, and D. Supratrappean beds. Bark beds are these bark beds are infratrappean beds, and these are associated with the Deccan traps in the Narmada Valley, and they are generally classified as infratrappean marine deposits, meaning they lie below the basaltic floors of the Deccan traps. And intertrappean beds, on the other hand, these are sedimentary deposits. These are in between the successive basalt floors of the Deccan traps. So bark beds are infratrappean beds. C is the correct option. Next question. Homeomorphy is an example of A. Convergent evolution, B. Divergent evolution, C. Parallel evolution, and D. Adaptive specialization. Homeomorphy is an example of a convergent evolution. Convergent evolution, it describes the independent evolution of similar traits in unrelated species, which is often due to similar environmental pressures or ecological needs. And homeomorphy in this context, it refers to the resemblance between organisms that do not share recent common ancestry, and this similarity is often a result of convergent evolution. So homeomorphy is an example of convergent evolution. Next question. Lingula is an example of A. Living fossil, B. Body fossil, C. Trace fossil, and D. Microfossil. Lingula is an example of a living fossil. This is particularly within the context of brachiopods. It's a genus of brachiopods that has existed for a very long time, with fossils dating back to the Ordovician period. And the brachiopod's simple tongue-shaped shell and overall morphology, it have remained remarkably stable throughout this vast time scale, making it a prime example of a lineage with a little evolutionary change. So Lingula is an example of a living fossil. A is the correct option. And next question, the Algoma and superior type banded iron formations are absent in geological records that are younger than A. 3.1 billion years ago, B. 2.6 billion years, and C. 1.85 billion years, and D. 0.65 billion years. So the correct option is 1.85 billion years. So Algoma and superior type banded iron formations are generally absent in geological records younger than 1.8 billion years ago. So this is primarily due to the oxidation of the Earth's atmosphere and a deep ocean at that time, which led to a change in the chemistry of the global ocean and effectively halted the deposition of these type of iron formations. So the correct option is C, 1.85 billion years ago. Next question. Foraminifera have a time range from the A. earliest Cambrian to the present day, B. Jurassic to the present day, C. Cambrian to Triassic, and D. Cretaceous to the present day. Foraminifera, they have a time range from earliest Cambrian to the present day. So this means that they have a fossil record spanning a significant portion of the Earth's history. So the earliest forms in the fossil record were likely organic wall, or they are also called as a simple agglutinated tubes with hard-shelled foraminifera. This is becoming more prominent in the Devonian period. So foraminifera have a time range from earliest Cambrian to the present day. A is the correct option. Next question. Horizontal component of the extra centrifugal force experienced by a moving object on the earth, on the surface of the earth, is called A. Itvo's force, and B. Coriolis force, C. Centripetal force, and D. Milankovitch force. So the correct option is B. Coriolis force. The horizontal component of the extra centrifugal force experienced by a moving object on the earth's surface is called as the Coriolis force. So B is the correct option. Next question. 90 thorium-232, it decays to lead-208 by emitting 6 alpha particles. How many beta particles must be emitted in this process? A 2, B 4, C 6, D 24. So the correct option is 6. Number of beta particles emitted during the decay of thorium-232 to lead-208, given that 6 alpha particles are emitted. Next question. Which of the following is not true for cometites? A. These are ultramafic lavas. B. These are associated with the greenstone belts, and these are of Archean age. And D. These are characterized by ophitic texture. So the correct option is D. So this is not true for cometites, because cometites are ultramafic lavas and they are associated with the greenstone belts, and these are of Archean age. And these are characterized by ophitic texture is not the correct answer, because is not the correct. It's not the true for cometites, and cometites have a spinifex texture. So that's why D. These are characterized by the ophitic texture is the not true for cometites. Next question. According to Gibbs phase rule, the maximum number of phases possible in a rock crystallizing from a two-component magma is, the choices are A 5, B 4, C 3, and D 2. The correct option is B 4. According to the Gibbs phase rule, the maximum number of phases possible in a rock crystallizing from a two-component magma is 4. So this is because the Gibbs phase rule states that for a system at equilibrium, the number of phases, that is P, it can be expressed as P is equal to C minus F plus 2, where C is the number of components and F is the degrees of freedom. And in a two-component magma, that is C is equal to 2, at fixed temperatures and pressure, F is equal to 0, the maximum number of phases that can exist is P is equal to 2 minus 0 plus 2, that is equal to 4. So B4 is the correct option. Next question. Which of the given magmas is more viscous? A. Basaltic magma, B. Granitic magma, C. Mafic magma, and D. Carbonatitic magma. So the correct option is the magma which is more viscous is granitic magma. Granitic magma is generally more viscous than mafic magma. So this is primarily due to the higher silica content. And granitic magma structure with more extensive silicate chains, it contributes to resistance to the flow. And the more silica present in the magma, the more viscous it tends to be. And this is because the silicon and oxygen atoms in a silica form complex three-dimensional networks which are harder to move around and resist flow. Next question. Grains crystallized during metamorphism that are significantly larger than those of the matrix are called A. Porphyroblast, B. Poikiloblast, C. Xenoliths, and D. Relict inclusions. So the correct option is A. Porphyroblast. Grains crystallized during metamorphism that are significantly larger than the surrounding matrix are called porphyroblasts, and these large crystals are formed within a finer grain matrix. And the term porphyroblast, it comes from the Greek word blastos, meaning growth. Next question. A crystal that has only a center of symmetry belongs to point group A1, B1 bar, C M, and D no point group. So the correct option is A1. A crystal with only a center of symmetry does belong to a point group. Specifically, it belongs to the triclinic point group C1 or 1. Next question. Gold scan deposits are associated with intrusions of A. Calc-alkaline oxidized, that means magnetite bearing I-type granite, B. calc-alkaline reduced S-type granite intrusion, C. mafic intermediate composition, and D. ultramafic composition. Gold scan deposits are associated with intrusions of calc-alkaline oxidized, that is magnetite bearing I-type granite intrusions. So these gold scan deposits are frequently associated with intrusions of magnetite bearing I-type granite, particularly those associated with the Indo-Asian continental collision. And these deposits are often found at the contact zones between the intrusions and surrounding carbonate rocks. Next question. Volcanogenic massive sulfide deposits are associated with following tectonic setting. A. Conservative plate margin, B. Collisional plate margin, C. Plate interior, D. Spreading centers. So the correct option is D. Spreading centers. Volcanogenic massive sulfide, that is VMS deposits, these are commonly associated with the spreading center tectonic settings. And these deposits, they form in extensional environments where seawater interacts with magmatic heat sources at mid-oceanic ridges, back arc spreading centers, and continental rifts. And this interaction, it leads to the release of dissolved metals and sulfur, which then precipitate on the seafloor as sulfide deposits. So volcanogenic massive sulfide deposits are associated with spreading centers. D is the correct option. Next question. Nickel copper sulfide deposits are mainly associated with mafic ultramafic magma. They are formed because of the following process. The choices are A. Segregation of early formed crystals, B. Magmatic hydrothermal process, C. Sulfide liquid immiscibility, D. Partial melting and filter pressing. So the correct option is C. Sulfide liquid immiscibility. Nickel copper sulfide deposits are indeed primarily associated with mafic ultramafic magmas, and their formation is strongly linked to the process of sulfide liquid immiscibility. The chalcophile nature of nickel and copper, it makes them strongly concentrated in sulfide liquids during the cooling and crystallization of these magmas. And this process leads to the segregation and accumulation of these sulfide rich liquids, forming the deposits we see today. So nickel copper sulfide deposits are associated with mafic ultramafic magma, and they are formed due to sulfide liquid immiscibility. C is the correct option. Next question. Which of the element is best pathfinder element for gold? Options are A. Silver, B. Arsenic, C. Copper, and D. Lead. So the correct option is B. Arsenic. Arsenic is a commonly used as a pathfinder element for gold exploration, and it's a well-documented indicator element for gold, and its use is supported by numerous studies. And arsenic can be detected in various samples like stream sediments, soils, and vegetation, allowing geologists to identify areas where gold might be present. So arsenic is the best pathfinder element for gold. Next question. Porphyry type tungsten deposits are associated with following type of intrusions. A. Calc-alkaline oxidized magnetite bearing I-type granite intrusions, and B. Calc-alkaline reduced, that is ilmenite bearing S-type granite intrusions, and C. Mafic intermediate composition, and D. ultramafic composition. The correct option is calc-alkaline reduced ilmenite bearing S-type granite intrusions. Porphyry type tungsten deposits are indeed associated with calc-alkaline magmas in a reducing environment. Specifically, these deposits are related to high potassium calc-alkaline to schonschenitic silicic intrusions. So porphyry type tungsten deposits are associated with calc-alkaline reduced and S-type granite intrusions. B is the correct option. Next question. Which of the following sedimentary basins are characterized with highest heat flow? A. Passive margin, B. Foreland basin, C. Rift basin, and D. Intracratonic basin. So the correct option is C. Rift basin. Rift basins of sedimentary basins are indeed, they are characterized by high heat flow. This is due to the fact that the rift basins are formed by thinning and stretching of the Earth's crust, exposing shallower, hotter mantle material. And as a result, what happens? These basins experience heat flows that are significantly higher than the global average. So rift basins are characterized by highest heat flow. Hope you have followed the content and the questions, and see you in the next video. Thank you for your time.